Yes, it is true. I did receive an overpayment letter from Social Security as they are requesting thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars to be paid back by me, and they gave me 30 days to do it. So in this short video right here, I'm going to explain the details of receiving an overpayment letter, what I did about it, and how I got this whole thing resolved within 30 days. I'll tell you this much. It was not a fun 30 days. I can tell you that much right now. It was not fun at all, but handled this whole thing, got it resolved, and I feel better about it. Not totally, but I'm still feeling a little kind of irritated / disgruntled about this whole thing. But I'm healing a little bit now that time has passed a little. So back in the beginning of August, I was out in a video and said, hey, stand by. I just got an overpayment letter from Social Security. I'll come back with a future video and let you know how this whole thing goes and tell you the whole story about it. Well, here we are quite a bit later here, and I'm finally ready to talk about it. For a while there, I honestly was not ready to talk about this whole thing. I felt completely irritated, very frustrated, and I felt completely betrayed by Social Security when I received that letter, and I thought, are you kidding me right now? Seriously? An overpayment letter and all of this money, thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're giving me 30 days to do this? This is absolutely nuts. So I think that's probably the reaction by most people. I felt very, very again, betrayed. I felt like, seriously? You've got to be kidding me right now. So anyway, I'm just going to tell you the whole story about this whole thing. Now, I'm going to be 100% fair with you. I'm not going to pop the letter up on the screen simply because there's a lot of personal information on there around my benefits and all kinds of information. I don't really want that on the screen, so I'm just going to tell you the details about it, okay? Anyway, let's go back to when I received the letter. So the letter was dated August 8th. That actually was the day that I received it as well, okay? So now here's what was interesting about it is I typically get like 2 letters a year from Social Security, something like that, so not much. So when a letter comes rolling into the mailbox in early August, I'm like, this doesn't look good, right? We're not supposed to be getting letters this time of year generally from Social Security, right? So when you get a letter, it's like, that's not a good thing. Anyway, opened it up, and sure enough, it's the overpayment letter. The dreaded letter that I've literally been talking about for years and say, hey, if you get an overpayment letter, take these few steps here, and I've been helping people with that for years. Well, okay, now I get one, right? Just imagine that. How ironic, right? Yeah, exactly. Okay, so anyway, go through the letter, and basically it just points out a whole bunch of different details according to our records and according to this, that, and the other thing, all of this evidence that they've piled up. We've overpaid you by $6,400. Actually, to be fair, it was a few dollars less than $6,400, but it was, let's just say $6,400 for easy purposes here. It was just a couple dollars less than that, okay? So yes, it's not like tens of thousands of dollars, thankfully, but it is $6,400, which honestly is kind of a lot of money, right? I mean, that's like a lot of money for a lot of people, and something I certainly did not want to pay back anytime soon. But again, according to the letter, you've got 30 days to resolve this, okay? So let's just go through the details of this. Now, for the first few days, I did nothing, okay? I did absolutely nothing. I took the letter, threw it off in the corner, and I was like, I'll come back and look at this someday, right? So for the first, I don't know, 5-6 days or so, I was like, I'm not doing anything. I can't even look at that. I'm just like disgusted right now. So I did nothing. And then about a week later, I was like, I should really just start doing something about this. I should really just act on this, do whatever, right? So I started looking into it. So the first thing I did is I filed a waiver of appeal, okay? So basically what I did is I filed a waiver and basically said, if I were to pay this $6,400 back, it would be financially not a good thing for me, my family, right? It put me into a financial hardship situation, okay? So that's what I filed and basically said that. And with when you do that, you have to prove your income, show all kinds of data, right? I did that. It took a long time to gather all that information and to write it all down, which, by the way, many of you here in the community know this about me. I'm blind, so I can't do this stuff myself. I had to have my wife help me, right? So it's taking our time to write all this crap down, file everything, and get it all ready, okay? So anyway, we gather all this information, we supply it to Social Security, and then within very short order, it did not take them long, I don't even think they looked at it, I get a rejection. It says, no, we're denying your appeal. Okay, that's awesome. Did you even look at it in the first place? Because that's what I really wondered. Considering how quickly I got the denial, I was like, I don't even think you looked at it. But okay, fine. It's me against Social Security. I'm pretty sure I'm going to lose this battle, but I'm going to put up a fight for sure. Okay, so that was number one. I called a local field office. I called a local field office, had a conversation with somebody, and we talked through it, kind of looked through the details, and she's like, yeah, your appeal, your waiver has certainly been denied. Okay. I was like, okay, well, what else are my other options here? Like, what else can I do? She's like, well, you can just pay it back. And I was like, come on, lady, seriously? I'm not just paying it back that easy. That's not how it works, right? Okay, so anyway, long story short, I went ahead and I filed also a reconsideration waiver. Okay, so basically a reconsideration of overpayment. So basically what that is, I come in and say, hey, you're wrong. I believe that you did not overpay me. I don't know how you come up with this information. And I basically just filed this waiver and said, let's reconsider this overpayment because I believe that you are wrong for these reasons. Again, within short order, denied. Came back and said, no, we are right because we're always right. We are Social Security. You're wrong. That's basically, it didn't say that, but I'm just kind of, basically making that up. But that's basically what it says is, no, we're right. We're always right. We are king. And, yep, you're going to have to pay us back to us, okay? So then, next option would be this. Okay, I have a few options left at this point, okay? We've exhausted 2 of the options. Didn't work. Okay, what are my other options now? My next option is to do absolutely nothing. Do nothing. I could do that. But then guess what? Then they garnish my benefit, SSDI, by the way, Social Security Disability Insurance Benefits. They garnish the benefit by 50%, right? We've talked about that many times before. Okay, do I want to see a garnishment to benefits by 50%? Honestly, not really, right? Don't want to see that. Other option would be pay it back. Just pay it back, shut my mouth, pay it back, and just be done. And I'm like, I don't want to give in that soon, right? I just don't really want to give in that quickly. And then my other option is to try to negotiate with Social Security, which I always love a good negotiation, right? I talk about that all the time. I'm looking for a deal. I'm looking for a discount. I love to negotiate on everything. This is not something I ever thought that I'd have to negotiate on. But that was my other option is file yet again another form with Social Security and say, hey, rather than garnishing 50% of my benefit going forward until that $6,400 is repaid, maybe we could come together on a smaller garnishment or dollar amount for an extended period of time, up to 60 months, and 5 years, by the way. And maybe you could just garnish a smaller dollar amount going forward, and we can just we can hash this out over a longer period of time. And I thought, do I really want this hanging over me for the next 2, 3, 5 years potentially? Honestly, not really. Okay. I have plenty of things that I have to think about every single day that keep me up at night, that I lose sleep over every single day. I have way too much that I'm thinking about and things that are going on. I'm like, I do not want to add one more thing to my list that's going to keep me up at night that I'm going to lose sleep over. I just don't want that, okay? So then I thought, my last option at this point is to pay it back or to do nothing. I don't really want to do nothing because in that case, I'm not really handling it, right? I'm not really the type of person. I very much follow the rules, okay? That's just how I am. I like to follow the rules, okay? So by doing nothing, it makes me feel like I'm just being rebellious and being like, hey, F you, I'm not doing anything, right? That's not really my style. I don't really want to do that, okay? So then it brings me down to basically one last option, pay it back. And I was like, oh man, this is the hardest thing for me to do. I do not want to pay this back in any way, shape, or form. I'm going to kick and I'm going to scream and I'm not going to pay this back, right? So that's just my attitude on everything. I'm just like, I do not want to do this in any way, shape, or form. So what I did is I logged on to my Social Security account. Okay, I talk about that all the time. I have a My Social Security account. It's right on the Social Security website. It's free. I encourage everybody to sign up. You don't have to. I don't really care if you do or not. I'm just saying it's a great tool to have. I logged in on there. Yep, there it is. We overpaid you and you owe us all this money. It says it right there on my account. Okay, big right there on the main screen. Okay, I see it loud and clear. No problem whatsoever. What are my options to pay this thing back? So I start looking, because right there on the My Social Security account, right, it shows you like, hey, pay us back all these different ways. And I'm like, oh, how convenient. You can only pay us in one way, and you pay us once per month. And, if anything goes on there, it's basically, we can't do anything about it. But yet now you're here requesting and demanding money. And it's like, it's just funny how it is, right? It's like very much a double standard, how this whole thing goes, right? So anyway, I started looking around, poking around on the My Social Security website within my page, and I was like, okay, how can I do this? Okay, so a couple options were an ACH transfer, right? So an ACH transfer is basically just like a transfer from a checking account or a savings account just over to them, and then it's just kind of done and over with. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm just definitely not doing that. Not an option. I'm not doing that. But then I also saw there was an option for a credit card or debit card. And I was like, I might be able to do that. I'll just put it on a credit card and just like pay it as I go, right? That should be fine. No problem whatsoever. So I was like, very reluctant, but I did. Typed in credit card number, right? So I was just like, I just can't do this right now. I'm just really struggling to do this. But anyway, I was like, I just really want to get this handled. I just really want this off my plate. I don't want to think about this anymore. I want to burn the letter. I want to be done with this. I want to just be totally forgotten about this whole thing, right? So anyway, what I did, entered in credit card information, and I was like, okay, there's a whole bunch of steps, by the way, qualifying. On the overpayment letter, by the way, it had some different numbers. I don't recall what the number of the acronym was. But anyway, it was basically like a verification number. It gave me like this number. It was a bunch of letters and numbers combined. And it basically said, here, enter this on. When you go to pay it, enter this number in. It was like a reference number, essentially. Maybe that's what it was called. I don't know. I think there was an acronym that went with it. I don't recall what it was off the top of my head. But anyway, there was a reference number, and it said, here, enter this reference number in off of your letter so we can quantify or qualify your payment, right? So I was like, okay, had Corey, my wife, obviously. I was like, hey, Corey, what's that number? In my attitude, I was super pissed, by the way. I was like, Corey, what's that number? And she's like, and she read it off to me, right? So I typed it in. And I think there was another reference number or something like that it needed as well. And I was like, okay. Get all my information in there. All my info is in. And basically there's just like a submit button, okay? And I was like, all right, we're just going to submit this. I'm just going to just push the button, and I'm just going to close the page immediately, and I'm just not going to think about it. I'm just going to be done with this, right? That's it. Okay, so I pushed the button, verification, got an email verification. I was like, okay, I'm going to print out the verification email so I have it, not only in my email, but a verification hard copy as well. So I did, went over, found the email, printed it out, stuck it away so I don't have to look at it or, come across it at some point. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. Awesome. Here's one thing I didn't know, okay? So take it from me, okay? Let me teach you. Please don't do this. If you have to do this, if there is an instance where you get an overpayment, I did not know this at the time, okay? I'm just going to tell you from my mistake. I did not know this at the time. So when I saw credit card payment, I thought, awesome. It's just going to be billed as like a payment, right? I'm making a purchase from Social Security in the amount of $6,400 is essentially how it would show up. I thought, no, not how they do it. In fact, it was brought in as a cash advance. Yeah, it was billed, or it was basically applied to the account as a cash advance. So I was like, okay, I don't love that. Here's why. Cash advance has my specific credit card, by the way, okay, I'm just telling you my experience here so you can avoid this pitfall, okay? So that $6,400 is actually turning into significantly more than that because I didn't know, okay? I don't know everything. I'm just going to tell you that much right now. I say that all the time. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to sit here in these videos and pretend that I know everything, because I don't, okay? Anybody that pretends like they know everything is, number one, a know-it-all and probably a narcissist and probably has something wrong with their brain, right? So anyway, I'm certainly not that person. I don't know everything, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I do. But anyway, it was billed, I should say it wasn't billed, it was drawn as a cash advance against my card. 29.99% interest on a cash advance, plus fees that go along with it, okay? Anyway, that was a really bad idea. I did not know that. I did not know that it was going to be a cash advance. I just thought it was going to be billed like, hey, just like a payment from, like I'm buying something from Social Security for $6,400. Nada. That's not how it was, okay? But logically, it makes sense that they would do it as a cash advance versus a purchase. If I did it as a purchase, it would have come through and charged them about 3.5% or so of a fee on that transaction. Well, instead, they pushed the fee onto me through a cash advance fee, and there's no fee to Social Security by collecting that money. So I guess if I would have just thought about it for a second longer, rather than being super, pissed off and irritated when I was doing it, I don't know how I could possibly do it with a straight mind anyway. But anyway, if I just would have thought about it a little bit more and came together with this thing with a clear mind, I probably would have caught that, no problem. But instead, I was trying to rush through because I didn't have to look at it any longer and mess around with it any longer. I just pushed the button, and then it was like, oh, uh-oh, that's bad. Okay, at that point, obviously, it was too late as far as what happened, right? So anyway, if you happen to get one of these, I hope this helps you understand this, and so you can avoid this type of situation going forward. So to follow up after that, about, I don't know, a couple days later, 2-3 days later or so, give or take a couple, I logged back into my Social Security account because it told me it could take a few days to post to the account or whatever. A few days later, I logged back into my Social Security account to see, does it still show a balance on there? And then no, it did not. It did not say a single word about the overpayment anymore. So that was totally erased off my account. My account was back in good standing. That was good. And all this kind of done and over with. Okay. So in about, I don't know, 10, 12 or so days, give or take a little bit, from the time that I received the letter on August 8th, until the time that it was completely 100% handled, was about 12-ish days, give or take 1 or 2 or 3, something like that. So let's just call it 2 weeks. Within about 2 weeks from the time that I received the letter on August 8th, it was completely handled. Okay. Now, the outcome, to be fair with you, was not what I wanted. Obviously, I would have loved to have my appeal, my waiver, to be basically considered and them say, sorry, we blew it. We made a mistake. But they would never do that, right? They're not going to admit a mistake, right? It's me against Social Security. Who's going to win that one? Definitely not me, right? So anyway, that's the whole story behind that, okay? So as promised back in early August after I received it, I was pretty irritated in a video or two, and I was like, hey, I received this letter. Stand by. I'll bring you a video, and I'll tell you the details about it. And now that we are here several weeks later, I feel like I can finally talk about it without like screaming, right? I wasn't going to scream anyway, but you get my point, right? I feel like I can talk about it a little bit more. It's been several weeks since the whole thing was kind of paid and just like cleared up and stuff like that. So anyway, that's my experience with the overpayment. Luckily, I'm just going to say this much. Luckily, it was only $6,400. So here's the deal. And the reason I say that is I say only. Have you seen some of the horror stories that I've talked about over the years? Some people getting overpayment letters of like $20,000, $50,000, $100,000. That would be an absolute nightmare for anybody. That'd be really, really, really bad in that type of situation. So that's why I'm saying I'm grateful that it was only $6,400. Way more than I ever wanted to pay them. Just saying that much. But I'm so grateful it was not like $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000. It could have been way, way worse. So as I was submitting that payment, that's all I kept thinking is just like, thankfully, this is not significantly more. It could be so much worse. It could be a lot better. Don't get me wrong. It could be way, way better. It could have been $0 or like $800 or $1,000, something like that, which I still would have complained about, to be fair, but at least it was not significantly worse, if that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, that's the story. Just want to share that with you quickly. As promised, I said back in early August that I'd bring you a video. That's my little story about it. If you have any questions about it, feel free to leave a comment down below if you want to. Ask me specifics about it if you want. I mean, I'll glad to come back into the video and share more, but that's pretty much it. It was kind of like straight to the point, if you know what I mean. It was pretty fast, realistically. I'm glad it didn't drag out forever. Obviously, I could have milked the clock on the whole thing and waited until the very last day to pay it. Again, I didn't want that hanging over me. I didn't want to lose sleep for another, 3 weeks. I just really didn't want to, okay? I didn't want this to irritate me for any longer. I've got way too many other things to think about. I did not want this on my list of things to worry about, okay? Anyway, that's the whole situation. So, anyway, hope this helps you to some degree. Hopefully you can learn something from this if you happen to get an overpayment. Just, don't follow in my footsteps exactly, file the waiver, file for the reconsideration, do whatever you've got to do, exercise all of your options, and hopefully your outcome turns out to be a little bit better than mine. But anyway, that's the whole situation, okay? Anyway, if you're currently on Medicare, make sure to share that phone number, call that phone number, see what they can do for you, okay? I've called them. My parents have called them. My wife Corey, her parents have called them. My dad is like getting all of his siblings and like all of his retired friends and stuff like that. It's just like he's getting all of them to call, and they're all getting assistance. Like thousands and thousands of you in here in this community. Again, about 5,000 of you here in this community have called that phone number. A lot of you saving a ton of money. You've heard me talk about it a million times. Give them a call. Leave a comment down below after you do. Use the word chapter. Let me know how it goes. I'll give you a shout out in a future video. Otherwise, please subscribe if you're new here. Share the video. Check out the other 6,000 videos here on the channel. Until next time, have a good one.